So, let me start by telling you guys, I have not been doing too well with revision recently. I've kind of fallen out of touch, which isn't good, because we only have 13 more days of school before the exam. So from now on, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll be doing a revision stream. I might also do some bigger ones on Saturdays and Sundays. We'll definitely be doing one the Sunday before the first exam. We'll definitely be doing that. So, what we're doing today is, instead of doing exam questions, I thought we would do some general revision on a couple of topics that I haven't really revised yet. And the first one I want to go over is gas exchange. Because this is a very interesting topic in terms of, again, I haven't revised this one at all. So there are three main types of gas exchange that we're going to cover. We'll do that there, and then we'll do human here. So I guess human gas exchange, and then here we'll do insects. Here we'll do fish. Now, what I'm going to do first and foremost is just try and remember as much as possible from my own knowledge, and then anything that I don't know, we'll go over, okay? So, insects. The way that they exchange gas, there are three ways that they can do it, I'm pretty sure, but we'll move on to that in a sec. Firstly, you have your spiracles, which are tiny holes on the surface of the they are tiny holes on the exoskeleton. So tiny pores. So they are tiny pores on the exoskeleton of the insect. And what this allows is for gas to diffuse in or out. Now look, the topic is called gas exchange. That means you need to basically remember to always talk about diffusion. If you don't mention diffusion, you could lose a mark just by lacking it. So talk about diffusion any chance you get in this topic. You're talking about gas exchange with fish, diffusion. Gas exchange in the lungs, diffusion. Literally, the word diffusion could carry you through this whole topic if you just reference it. So insects have a couple of ways of being able to... Okay, well, hold on. Before this, so the gas goes through the spiracles, and it then goes through the tracheae. So the tracheae are little branches, I'm pretty sure, which branch off into tracheoles. So that's a tracheae which branches off into tracheoles, and these tracheoles then obviously go into any respiring cells. I'm just going to draw it like this. Like so. So the gas diffuses in through the spiracles, it goes through the tracheae, and then it branches off into the respiring cells via the tracheoles. Okay, so there are three ways that gas can exchange in insects. Number one is, well, okay, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember all three, but I know there's one. There's muscle contractions, abdominal pumping, that's what it's called. That's the first one I remember, abdominal pumping. And what this does is, obviously, when it kind of pumps its abdomen, it creates a pressure gradient where I'm pretty sure all it is carbon dioxide will be released quite quickly, and oxygen will be brought in. So it literally just allows for a very quick exchange, and that's for intense activity. So that brings in the oxygen, takes out the CO2. It's like a very fast, because obviously it's abdominal pumping. It's quite a fast process. So for example, if the insect is moving, that would likely be what it does. The next one, and I don't recall the name for this, okay? But I do recall what goes on. Basically, the ends of the tracheals have water. They have water at the ends of them. I don't have a blue pen. There we go. They have water at the end of them. And this water will move by osmosis into the cell, which will... I can't recall really what happens after this. But water moves into the cell, which causes... I'm gonna assume... Does it move into the cell? Water moves into a cell that's respiring. I'm going to assume that this would maybe cause a concentration gradient or something like that, and it would cause the oxygen to diffuse out, maybe? I'm not sure. And I can't remember the first one. Here. I don't recall what that is. I'm pretty sure that's just the simple gas exchange, where it literally just goes through. But in order so that I'm not making mistakes, we'll leave it blank. We'll come back to it later, okay? This is all just knowledge which I'm coming up with off the top of my head. Is there anything else we need to know for this topic? I don't think so. I mean, obviously I need to add to these, definitely, but I think that's it. So let's move on to fish, and I'm going to be honest with you, fish, this is a difficult topic for me. I don't really remember much. So let's just see what we can do, okay? Let's just see... Okay. Let's just see what we can get remembered, okay? Fish, okay. You have your gill, lamellae, and that's all I remember. That's literally all I remember. I don't remember much. What I know is that water obviously has less oxygen in, which means that they need to be able to intake a lot more water in order to survive. You have your gills, which branch off into gill lamellae. I can't remember much. The buccal cavity, that's like the mouth of the fish. Basically, I don't know how I would really draw that there. Just gonna draw a fish like this. I don't know whether that looks like a fish, but that's like the buccal cavity. That would be, I guess. Yeah. I don't know anything else. I'm being completely honest. I don't recall anything else for this topic. I don't recall anything else for that topic about gas exchange in fish. I don't really know. I know there's gill lamellae. I know there's obviously gills. There's bone flaps. I don't know. I can't recall a single thing from the fish topic. So we definitely need to revise that 100%. Let's move on to human, and then we'll obviously come back to this later. So you have your two lungs, which I'm just going to draw very basic. How am I going to do this? Just like that. I guess that's my best drawing of a lung. I know it looks stupid as shit. I'm not an artist, guys. I'm not Hitler. I don't... You know... Look. There you go. Those are the lungs. So what you have is your trachea, your bronchus, and then your bronchioles, which branch off into alveoli. I hope that makes sense. So your trachea, your alveoli are like tiny air sacs. They are Roblox lungs. Air sacs. They have obviously an increased surface area to volume ratio to increase the rate of gas exchange via diffusion. They are typically like moist to allow the oxygen to diffuse further in. Alright, see you, dude. So I don't know how I would draw that, but they are moist in order so that the oxygen can be absorbed into the moisture quicker. I don't really recall anything else. I guess, capillaries, obviously. They are surrounded by capillaries, which, obviously capillaries one cell thick. I don't know whether alveoli are one cell thick or not. I'm going to say they are, meaning that there is a very short diffusion pathway and they can easily, the oxygen can easily be intaken into the capillaries by diffusion. Is there anything else we need to know? Obviously, inspiration and is it expiration? Yeah. Okay, that's one topic that I don't recall very well. In fact, sorry. That's a topic I actually relatively recall quite well. I recall the inspiration and expiration topic very well, I think. Let's put that to the test there. So inspiration. So what happens in inspiration is your intercostal muscles and your diaphragm. Something about them. They contract, I'm pretty sure. Do they contract? They don't relax. It has to be contract. This causes a pressure gradient as there is more volume in your thorax. Wait. So yeah, there is a pressure gradient because there is now more volume in the overall thorax. This causes oxygen to enter and eventually go into the lungs, basically. So O2 enters. And expiration is where the intercostal muscles and diaphragm... actually, would it be Hold on, would they contract? I'm trying to figure out what contracting is. I'm gonna put relax here. Relax. This obviously reduces the volume, which means there's a pressure gradient outside. So gas will leave by diffusion out of the body. So yeah. So that's inspiration and expiration. I don't recall whether that's in the right order. I don't know whether I've missed anything. Again, I'm not good with this topic because we've never learned it. We've only ever learned it this year in February, which obviously I have done a lot of revisions since then. I have not had time to learn this properly. So this is one of those topics that I'm very unsure about. No idea if I've done any of that right. What I might do is I'll grab my book and I'll add any extra notes in green, and then we'll do some exam questions relating to this. Okay, I'll be a sec. General things I did miss right away is surface area to volume ratio. Surface area to volume ratio is something which is relatively simple. All it is the surface area divided by volume. That's your surface area to volume ratio. In order to maintain overall body temperature, in order to maintain water levels, in order to maintain oxygen, glucose levels, everything like that. And the larger the organism, the more specialized these exchange systems need to be, because those nutrients, those things can't just diffuse into the all of the cells, because we have billions, so they need specialized systems to do it. So yeah, microscopic organisms don't need to rely on a larger surface area because they have a lot more simpler systems. But meanwhile, obviously we need much more complex ones. Unicellular organisms obviously have a larger surface area to volume ratio because they're a lot smaller, a lot simpler. But obviously the big catch to that is they lose heat more easily. Lower surface area to volume ratio organisms, like obviously us, maintain that. So you notice in cold environments, the challenges is maintaining that heat, so they'll have a smaller surface area to volume ratio in order to maintain that temperature. Meanwhile, for hot environments, they'll have a larger surface area to volume ratio to obviously lose that excess heat. And in dry environments, a water loss means they'll probably have different kidney structures. Nocturnal animals, maybe. So yeah, surface area is the area of the outside of an object. The volume is the area in the inside. That's a good little thing to remember. Gas exchange for fish and insects. Okay. So insects have no lungs, so they use spiracles, which are tiny pores that allow gases to enter and exit. We got that. Nice. Tracheae They are microscopic small tube networks. Yep, we talked about that. And tracheoles divide until they reach every cell. Every cell has a tracheole that it will meet with. I mean, we didn't specify that, but it's kind of implied from the diagram. The spiracles are found on the exoskeleton. Yeah, we said that. Gas exchange happens in 3 ways. Okay, number 1 is basic diffusion. The easiest one. Basic diffusion, it goes from an area of high concentration to low, down a concentration gradient via diffusion. The next one is abdominal pumping. So, the insects use their abdomen muscles which contract and relax. It's a type of ventilation which removes CO2, intakes O2, happens during movement as a result of pressure changes. And the final one is the one which, okay, here, pressure gradient. So it's typical for aerobic. So, what happens is lactic acid releases... Oh, okay, no, hold on. I could probably get this. Now. Just by that alone. Lactic acid is soluble, which, because it's soluble, it reduces the water... It reduces the water potential. It reduces the water potential of the cells. Yeah. And because of that, the water... The water at the end of the tracheoles will enter via osmosis into the cells. I'm assuming this will then reduce the volume, or because it moves into the cells, it'll likely do something to send, I don't know. It's soluble. Water moves into muscle cells by osmosis. Yep. Less volume of water is then on the tips. Which causes less pressure. There you go. Less volume means less pressure. And thus a pressure gradient which sends more oxygen in. So there we go. Easy, but I think that's actually quite nice. So it's respiring anaerobically, which produces lactic acid. Since this lactic acid is soluble, it reduces the water potential of the cells which the lactic acid has dissolved in. This will, of course, so as a result of this, the water at the tips of the tracheoles will move in by osmosis, in order to obviously balance out that water potential. This reduces the overall volume of the tracheoles, which creates a pressure gradient. Okay, we got it. And adaptations of the tracheole. I think I can name some of these. It's, I'm pretty sure, 1 cell thick. So a short diffusion pathway. Okay, no, it's not 1 cell thick, but it has thin walls. Okay, sorry, I was just patching that up. So, thin walls for a short diffusion pathway. Oh, very branched. I mean, that's obvious. I can just draw that and it'll be conveyed. It's very branched. So, a larger surface area. And there's fluid, obviously, as we mentioned before. Fluid at the end, which helps, obviously, in specifically aerobic respiration. So there you go. You got your basic diffusion, which is easy as shit. Abdominal pumping is literally just drawing in oxygen, drawing out CO2. And anaerobic respiration produces lactic acid, which is soluble, reducing the water potential. Thus, water travels from the tips of the tracheoles into the cell, which reduces the overall volume of the tracheoles, and so more gas is drawn in. Right, let's pay attention now to the fish one. So gills, there are 4 layers of gills. They are made from gill filaments, which are arranged in stacks. Just going to draw it like that. Which also, obviously, in case you didn't know, large surface area. I don't know whether when specifying surface area, you should talk about surface area to volume ratio, but I would say if you want to secure the mark, make sure you've got it. Talk about large surface area to volume ratio. Yeah, so gills are made of filaments, and then from there they contain gill lamellae, which are like short bumps, microscopic bumps, yeah, exactly, which further increases surface area. From there, they have so water enters through the mouth. So there's a constant blood supply. Which means there is constantly a diffusion pathway. Remember, to be honest, a lot of these have very similar gimmicks. For capillaries, constant blood supply for a faster diffusion pathway, etc. Which shortens diffusion. Shortens the diffusion pathway means there is a constant supply of blood, which means there is a constant diffusion pathway. Is that it? So oxygen-rich water. This is a kind of. The counter-current flow. Yeah, I remember this. It's where water and oxygen-rich water and fuck's sake. Water rich in oxygen comes in contact with blood, which is low in oxygen. So water. Which means there is a constant diffusion pathway, or a constant diffusion gradient, I should say. Pathway is more when talking about physical surface. This is more a diffusion gradient. And if it was a co-current flow, then obviously it would eventually reach an equilibrium. But because the oxygen, so here, oxygen-rich water going this way, oxygen-deprived blood going that way, so that they interact. So you're never reaching that equilibrium, because the rich water's going this way, etc. Right? You get what I mean. I get what I mean. You guys don't. The bony flaps are called the operculum. So you have 4 gill arches with many filaments, and each one has many lamellae. See, I honestly, I hate this topic only because of how much stuff you need to know. But there are 4 gill arches, which branch off into gill filaments, which branch off into lamellae. So honestly, that is still relatively easy to know. Compared to this, actually, this might be easier. Literally, your 4 gill arches, each gill arch has many gill filaments, which are arranged in stacks, and then those branch off into gill lamellae, which have a bunch of capillaries in them. So yeah, a countercurrent flow has a constantly steep diffusion gradient due to water flowing in the opposite direction. Gills have multiple filaments. Lamellae on the filaments have capillaries for a constant diffusion gradient. And there are thin walls. We can just talk about where thin walls, lamellae walls. Okay, are we done with this god-awful topic? I hate this topic so much, it's annoying as hell. So yeah, your buccal cavity, it then enters the gills, the filaments of the surface area, and the lamellae have thin walls. Countercurrent flow is for constant diffusion. Honestly, that is not that bad. I think it's just the way I formatted this, which makes it look more bad than it is. In insects, the gas enters through the spiracles, it goes through the tracheae, into the tracheoles, and each tracheole links to a cell. The tracheoles have thin walls for a shorter pathway. There are 3 forms of gas exchange. In basic diffusion, it's literally just diffusion. Gas moves from an area of high to low concentration gradient, or down a concentration gradient. In abdominal pumping, a change in pressure occurs. Basically, it creates a pressure gradient because the abdomen, the volume of it will be less and then more. So it creates a pressure gradient, which is usually the byproduct of intense activity. And yeah, this causes a pressure change, which draws in oxygen and releases CO2. And then in aerobic respiration, lactic acid, we've already talked about this. We don't need to talk about it again. Then in a fish, water enters through the buccal cavity, then goes to one of 4 gill arches. These arches branch off into filaments, which are arranged in stacks for a large surface area. It then goes into gill lamellae, which have thin walls for a short diffusion pathway. And then a blood supply is constantly being, delivered via the capillaries in a countercurrent flow, which means that water, which is rich in oxygen, is being... water rich in oxygen, so the oxygen is easily able to diffuse into the blood low in oxygen. For humans, we haven't done yet, so let's quickly look at what we need to do. Ventilation is literally just drawing in air via inspiration and then drawing out air by expiration via pressure changes. So let's read this. You have your internal... Oh, hold on, there's different types of muscle. Feck. Okay, there are adaptations of the lungs. Pleural fluid? Pleural fluid, I'm going to call it. This pleural fluid reduces friction. I guess that's literally all I need to know. I'm sure that will be a 1-mark question in the exam, right? Like, the lung is covered in a special type of fluid. What does this do? It lubricates the lungs to reduce friction. Easy. Intercostal muscles are closer to the lungs. That's why they're called intercostal. Your external muscles... okay. Your diaphragm... Okay, here. Okay. Your diaphragm flattens, creating extra space, increasing volume, low pressure. Let's just read my essay, because I'm sure that would be easier to understand, to be honest. Okay. Ventilation occurs firstly via inspiration. The external intercostal muscles contract, and the diaphragm flattens out. Okay. So your external intercostal muscles contract and the diaphragm flattens out. Okay. External. Your diaphragm flattens. This creates a pressure gradient as pressure... Okay, so I guess if you really wanted to cram those marks in, yeah, you could talk about what a pressure gradient is, how it's less pressure being applied to the particles, and thus they have more, literally that, less pressure being applied to the particles due to increased volume. This creates a pressure gradient, causing air to move down the pressure gradient from the atmosphere into the trachea. Expiration occurs when the rib cage lowers and the intercostal muscles contract. But she said diaphragm and external muscles. I'm confused. Have I made a mistake or has she made a mistake? Expiration occurs when the rib cage lowers and the external muscles contract slightly. A pressure gradient is created as there are higher pressure in the thorax, causing air to move down the gradient and out of the trachea. I don't know whether I've made a mistake there or she has. I'm confused as to what she's trying to specify there. The diaphragm relaxes. There we go, that's it. And your external intercostal muscles contract. Is that it for the topic? Almost. Cartilage prevents strength to the trachea. Okay. I guess we'll draw like a little... Cartilage provides strength. Your squat... Oh, wait, we don't need to do this. Okay, good. Your veins carry deoxygenated blood, arteries oxygenated, easy. Alveoli are 1 cell thick, steep gradients. Yeah, we've done all of this then. Okay. So there you have it. That right there. This. I'll just doing that for a thumbnail. That is the whole topic. There you have it. Gas exchange in insects, gas exchange in fish, gas exchange in humans. Christ, that is a lot, isn't it? Woo. I guess an easy way to remember this actually is assume your diaphragm is like some putty, and when you squeeze it, or it's like a pillow. Here's my really weird pillow. Right? This is such a weird example, hold on. If you assume the diaphragm, during inspiration, we flatten, so we try to squish a pillow. Then during expiration, it relaxes back to its regular state. And obviously, that is a much larger volume than when it's squished up. There you go. Remember a pillow for inspiration and expiration. And your intercostal muscles will contract. They'll either contract a lot or contract slightly. I think we've done everything there. Should we do some exam questions to actually see if I've remembered any of this? Or yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. How we've been live for 45 minutes. Okay. What time is it? Almost killed myself. It's almost 4. So how about we give ourselves 18 minutes and then we'll wrap things up. Right. Let's go to topic number 5. I don't think we'll write anything for these. We'll just come up with them as we go. I've already answered most of these. How about we do these starter questions? Okay. Here. Starter questions. If we can't get these right. How is air supplied to respiring tissues in an insect? So, air is supplied to respiring tissues via, first of all, air will travel through, or oxygen will travel, air. Air will travel through the spiracles, which are tiny pores on the insect's exoskeleton. From there, the air travels through the tracheae, which is a microscope. Oh, for fuck's sake! I'm okay. I didn't write much. It then goes through the tracheae, which then branches off into tracheoles, which all eventually reach your respiring cells. Yeah, I'm not good at explaining these without writing, am I? God. Where does air enter the tracheal system? Via the spiracles, which are tiny pores on the exoskeleton. 2 adaptations of an insect's gas exchange system. Okay. Highly branched tracheoles allow for a higher surface area to volume ratio. I don't know what benefit that would have exactly, a larger surface area. Like, I'm going to assume a faster rate of diffusion and a shorter diffusion pathway thanks to the thin walls. The ends of tracheoles in insects are filled with tracheal fluid. During anaerobic respiration, this fluid moves by osmosis into the cell due to lactic acid reducing the water potential inside the cells. This then causes a volume decrease and thus a pressure gradient is created, drawing air into the spiracles. How can insects increase ventilation? They can increase ventilation by abdominal pumping, which will draw oxygen in and draw CO2 out because of the change in pressure. When an insect is active, what changes? Same thing, abdominal pumping. Most bony fish have 5 pairs of gills, which are covered by a bony flap called the operculum. The function of this flap is to control I'm going to assume, I don't know, to control the intake of water. to control the water that enters and exits the fish. The structure of gills, so it's your gills, your gill arches, which then have your gill filaments, which are there for a large surface area. Your gill filaments, so your gill filaments are there, they appear in stacks for a large surface area. They then have gill lamellae, which are little bumps for a further increase in surface area, which also contain blood vessels, capillaries, in order so that there is a constant blood supply. Ventilation in fish. So water will enter via the buccal cavity or then go through all the things I've said, and due to the counter-current flow, it means that oxygen-rich water is able to easily diffuse into oxygen-deprived blood via a constant diffusion pathway in the blood vessels. The counter-current flow is a greater diffusion... what do you call it? Constant diffusion pathway. Yeah, I was right. Okay. Two adaptations of the gills. Obviously, your gill lamellae are little bumps which increase surface area to volume ratio. And your capillaries for constant blood supply. There you go. I did every starter question, just like that. Let's do the human ones, and then let's get out of here. Explain how the relationship between the direction of flow of water and blood is useful for a fish. It's a countercurrent flow, which allows oxygen-rich water to easily diffuse into oxygen-deprived blood due to the fact that there is a constant diffusion pathway between the quantity of oxygen. Something like that. I don't know. Insects are relatively small but also very active, so they need to respire aerobically? Quickly. Okay, fuck off. They have a waterproof exoskeleton, which is rigid for protection and covered in spiracles to prevent insects drying out. Insects improve their rate of gas exchange using a network of tracheoles that carry air directly into cells. Openings in the insect's exoskeleton called spiracles lead to a network of tubes called how have I just forgotten it? Trache. Bro, okay, you can tell I'm getting tired. The trache and tracheoles are held open by rings of hard cartilage. Cartilage? No, it's not cartilage. Chitin? I did not know that. Which branch off into... Okay, I don't need to do this because I'm getting annoyed. I've been here for an hour, guys. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Co-current flow. A co-current flow is less effective because the concentration of oxygen in the blood and water eventually reaches an equilibrium, meaning that no diffusion can take place. A counter-current flow... Explain why gill filaments and lamellae would not provide an efficient gas exchange surface on land. Because they are adapted so that water, oxygen-rich water, can... I don't know. That's a tricky one, to be honest. I probably wouldn't get that in an exam. Describe a change in fluid level during flight. I can't get that. Describe the structure... Describe the structures air passes through into the lungs. So it passes through the trachea, into the bronchus, the bronchi, and then the bronchioles, and then your alveoli. Describe the role of the surfactant in alveoli. What is a surfactant? Oh, we don't really need to know that, but it coats the layers to reduce surface tension. The mechanism of inspiration, so that is where, if it's like a pillar, like we remembered, the diaphragm will flatten out. The diaphragm flattens out. Your external intercostal muscles will contract. This creates a pressure gradient where there is where there is more volume in the thorax, meaning it's a pressure gradient, so air will diffuse in due to the increase in volume. Why do alveolar walls contain elastic fibers? I'm not sure. Why would they need elastic fibers? For rigidity? I don't know. Allows lung... Oh! Obviously, the lung can stretch. Nice. What tissue type comprises... I don't know. The trachea is lined with epithelial tissue and goblet cells. Goblet cells, like, clot up infections or something. Yeah, they secrete mucus, which traps particles. How are alveoli adapted to reduce diffusion distance? They are 1 cell thick. They have a high surface area to volume ratio. And, well, they have a high surface area. And they have a constant blood supply. Yeah, the diaphragm moving down increases the volume of the thorax, reducing air pressure. Air enters the thorax through the atmosphere as it goes down the pressure gradient. So instead of saying the diaphragm flattens, say it moves down. Okay, got it. Explain, using surface area to volume, why active organisms need specialized. Because larger organisms have a smaller surface area to volume ratio, which means obviously they're going to require specialized systems. Why would they need that though? Oh, because diffusion pathway is too large, and they have a higher demand for oxygen. Larger organisms have a higher demand for oxygen. So as a result, here, I'll draw like a little thing and then a big thing. So if it has a big surface area volume ratio, it means it can diffuse directly, but it loses heat. It maintains heat, but a higher oxygen demand, big diffusion path. Alright, well there you go. I'm basically done. I'm very tired. That's been decent though. We've definitely revised a bunch of stuff there. I'm happy to say. I know that these revision streams definitely aren't as like good as before. As in like, you know, Back in the GCSE days, we were doing one of these a day while we were taught for 2 hours. To be honest with you guys, my sleep schedule is still recovering from, you know, sleep in general. I had 10 hours of sleep last night, and I still woke up feeling tired. So I think it's going to take a couple of days for me to get used to, you know, waking up relatively early. And then we can start cranking these revision streams out. I'll be doing one tomorrow. I'll be definitely doing one tomorrow. Don't know about Thursday because I think I have double biology then anyways. There will definitely be a revision stream on Friday because I only have one lesson. So look, more revision streams are coming, guys. We went through a whole ass topic there, which I'm very happy with actually. I'm surprised we went through it all. And honestly, looking at that, there isn't too much to it. Literally just spiracles, tracheoles, gills, filaments, lamellae. diffusion, abdominal pumping, anaerobic, countercurrent flow, buccal cavity, inspiration, expiration, trachea, bronchus, bronchioles, alveoli, surface area to volume ratio. I just summarised the whole topic, and then diffusion. Talk about a diffusion pathway, a diffusion gradient. You can. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you.